Pledge of Allegiance led by Representative Turner.
Good morning, friends. Allow me to pray for you. Good morning, Father. Today is the day we call Valentine's Day. It draws our thoughts and actions into the realm of love. Your word has much to say about the subject. It's St. Paul who reminds us, if I speak with the tongues of men and angels, but do not have love, I become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give all my possessions to feed the poor, and I deliver my body to be burned, but do not have love, it profits me nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant, nor does it act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own, is not easily provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Father, I really don't know what I can add to this other than to say, help us to live this out in our daily lives. So I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have all members had the opportunity to record their presence? The clerk will close the roll and record the attendance. Please rise and join me in recognizing former Representative Jim Howell on the South Wall. Introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 2385 by Committee on Taxation, requested by Representative Brownlee Page, an act concerning taxation. HB 2386 by Committee on Appropriations, requested by Representative W. Carpenter, an act concerning the State Children's Health Insurance Program.
Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 2040 by Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications, an act concerning the State Corporation Commission relating to electric transmission lines, citing permits, extending the time in which the commission shall make a final order on an electric transmission line siting application.
As a reminder, members will be in their seats on final action. This constitutes final action on House Bill 2040. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Seeing 10 hands, calls in order. Doorman will secure the doors, and clerk will read the roll.
Barrett, Corbett, Rogie, Helgerson, Hill, Meyer, Sweely, Tarwater, Wassinger.
Representative Barth is excused. Representative Barth is recognized for an explanation of vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I voted no on this, not because I don't think it's a good idea. I actually think the extension could be helpful, but I had an amendment yesterday, and just because of how the legislative process is going, and my amendment was a really good amendment, I think a lot of people actually might support because it actually just does what the bill says it's going to do, which is provide more time for the people to have a say and input, which is what the Kansas Corporation Commission was trying to accomplish. So that's my reason for voting no, and I'm hoping that we'll have a chance to amend it again. Thank you.
Representative Tarwater votes aye. Representative Sweely votes aye. While we are waiting, are there any further explanation of votes? Representative Helgerson votes aye. Not seeing 10 hands, call is raised. Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none. With 116 having voted in favor and 2 against the passage of House Bill 2040, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2046 by Committee on Insurance, an act concerning insurance relating to travel insurance, authorizing issuers to file certain travel insurance policies under the accident and health line of insurance.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2046. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? See, Representative Mosley votes aye. Are there any further changes? Seeing none, with 118 having voted in favor and 0 against the passage of House Bill 2046, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2061 by Committee on Judiciary, an act concerning crimes, punishment, and criminal procedure relating to the crimes of trespassing on a critical infrastructure facility and criminal damage to a critical infrastructure facility, defining a critical infrastructure facility used for telecommunications or video services to include above-ground and below-ground lines, cables, wires, and certain other structures and equipment.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2061. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Lewis votes aye. Representative Melton votes no. Representative Martinez votes no. Any further changes? Seeing none, with 104 having voted in favor and 14 against the passage of House Bill 2061, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2109 by Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications, an act concerning law enforcement relating to public utilities, authorizing law enforcement agencies to attach and operate law enforcement equipment on utility poles in the public right-of-way, exempting public utilities from civil liability relating thereto.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2109. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? For an explanation, the speaker recognizes Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a big supporter of public safety with strong ties to law enforcement. I've given this bill a lot of thought and listened to a lot of pros and cons. It's very concerning to me that cameras may be placed without the need to obtain a warrant, with no timeframes of how long they can be left there, and more importantly, the storage of the data is not locked down and secured. I support the positive things this bill could do, but just cannot support it in its current drafting. For those reasons, I vote no on House Bill 2109.
Are there any further explanation of votes? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Sawyer votes no. Any other changes of votes? Seeing none, with 78 having voted in favor and 40 against the passage of House Bill 2109, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2120 by Representative Rosser, an act concerning the disposition of state real property, authorizing the State Board of Regents on behalf of Kansas State University Veterinary Medical Center to sell certain real property in the city of Omaha, Douglas County, Nebraska, authorizing the State Board of Regents on behalf of Kansas State University to sell certain real property in the city of Manhattan, Raleigh County, Kansas.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2120. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 118 having voted in favor and 0 against the passage of House Bill 2120, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. The Speaker recognizes Majority Leader Croft for a motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of considering those items under the heading General Orders.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion carries. The Speaker appoints Representative Howerton to chair the Committee of the Whole.
Good morning, body. I didn't know if the speaker realized this, but he was setting precedent or tradition today. It was 1 year ago today that I chaired the Committee of the Whole for the first time. So good job, thank you. Okay, so the first item of business is HB 2018. For the purpose of carrying HB 2018, the chair recognizes Representative Hellwig.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No? The motion passes and the committee report is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 2018 gives the ability for county clerks to use poll workers that are currently ineligible. The original focus is for military spouses, families and their spouses to be used as a new source of election personnel. The bill was broadened during the committee to allow for Kansas to cross county lines to serve as election workers if the county clerk so desires. County clerks across the state struggle to find sufficient poll workers for manning polling locations. Persons in the military or their family members are a ready source of qualified personnel who could fill this role. The only problem is their voter registration is typically in another state where their original deployment was from. House Bill 2018 allows such persons to serve if otherwise qualified. The bill was expanded to allow the person to cross county lines if the clerk so determines. Thank you. I will stand for questions.
Does any member wish to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Hoffman.
Would the carrier stand for a few questions?
Glad to.
Representative, where are you from?
Columbus, Kansas.
What county is that?
Cherokee.
Tell me a little bit about Cherokee.
Well, we're in the great part of the very southeast corner of the state. You can throw a snowball and hit Oklahoma and Missouri, but we have the best 13.2 miles of Route 66.
All right. So what did you do before you came into this great establishment?
Well, I've always been a rancher, so we've been on the family farm the whole time. I worked construction 10 years, HVAC for 7, worked for K-State Extension for 10, and currently the co-director of economic development in Cherokee County.
Wow, okay. So you know a lot about Kansas and everything.
I know a little, I just can't
All
remember
right.
it all at one time.
So downstairs in the visitor center, there's a huge map.
Yes, sir.
And when you walk on that map, it's crooked. Now, why in the world did the construction members get that map crooked?
Because one guy shut one eye.
That might be one reason.
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No, I do not.
No idea at all.
No, sir.
Why would they do that?
Just to give us something to talk about today.
Okay. It's because it faces true north. We're actually on a little bit of a slant here in the Capitol. And that may be Pretty good idea to put us on a slant, I'm not sure.
Little bubble, half a bubble off plum.
Half a bubble off the line, yeah, that may be a good deal for all of us here, so. Well, Representative, I'm happy to have you here. I know you're doing a great job we share a common in that you're from Cherokee, I'm from Comanche. I think there's a theme going on there, so welcome, and you did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Is there further discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The carrier of the bill did a very good job explaining the bill and surviving his questions. This bill does fill a gap in allowing more poll workers. We had a discussion and agenda, quite a long discussion and agenda about if they're a U.S. citizen, if they have to live in Kansas, and the answer is yes on that. I would encourage you to support this so we can support the elections in Kansas.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Hellwig, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports HB 2018 favorably for passage. Thank you.
You have heard the motion by Representative Hellwig to report HB 2018 favorably. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is HB 2206. For the purpose of carrying HB 2206, the chair recognizes Representative Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There were committee report amendments, and I move adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted.
Colleagues, House Bill 2206 comes from the Elections Committee. It covers a number of different bases. It renames the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission into the Kansas Public Disclosure Commission. It makes various revisions of definitions of political committee and cooperation or consent, and what contributions made by one person in the name of another legally means. The bill also raises the limits to $3,000 in expenditures before one is considered a political committee, and raises the limit to $1,000 before an independent expenditure report must be filed. The committee had one proponent, no opponents, one neutral, and passed the Elections Committee unanimously. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The carrier of the bill did a fine job explaining the bill. I would encourage us to reconsider supporting it simply for the fact that there's too many questions still needing to be answered, and that it is something that I can't fully suggest that we support. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there further discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Chu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I realize that we in this building are a body that discusses policy, and that's what this is. We're also a political body as well, representing 3 million Kansans around the state. I don't know if you guys are aware, but us as a profession as a whole is not particularly well thought of in the big scheme of things as politicians. And this bill literally does away what we call the Ethics Commission. This will be something that will go on postcards forever, that we voted to do away with what's called an Ethics Commission and then just replacing it with something else. So I'm going to oppose it for that reason, if nothing else. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Proctor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I rise in support of House Bill 2206. In October 23, we had a interim committee on governmental ethics and campaign finance reform. And we heard conferee after conferee after conferee come and talk to us about how vague our laws currently are on campaign finance. The Governmental Ethics Commission has lost a number of cases costing the state of Kansas hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees because our laws are too vague. What this bill does is it puts meat on the bones. It makes it clear what is and what is not against the law, because right now it is not clear, and it is up to the interpretation of the Director of Governmental Ethics, and if that person chooses, they can do regulation by enforcement, which is what's been occurring over the past few years. This is a compromise solution. We talked to a lot of people. We talked to a lot of the litigants. We talked to the Governmental Ethics Commission itself, and to the governor's office as well. And this is a solution that everybody's happy with in order to fix a serious problem that any of us could be the victim of in the future with some future director. So I urge you to support this bill.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Simmons.
Thank you. I oppose this bill because this is an incumbents bill. This bill essentially eliminates contribution limits by legalizing straw donors. It legalizes coordination, and there are enormous loopholes here. I think that it makes it harder for us to participate fairly in the democratic process, and it also makes it much harder for our constituents to participate. I encourage you to vote no. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Wagner, you may close.
Colleagues, I would reiterate that the Governmental Ethics Commission has lost a number of lawsuits that the state of Kansas that we're on the hook for paying. There's over $250,000 in legal fees that are sitting in the balance that are awaiting, final adjudication. The bill does it's a minimalistic change. The name change was strictly done from the standpoint of that. What governmental ethics, that's where you file your campaign reports. That's fundamentally what they do. And so to call it the Kansas Public Disclosure Commission, I think is much more appropriate. It also takes some of the stigma, somebody simply having a misfiling on a report to be officially an ethics complaint seemed like overkill. Further, we actually found by doing some research that like 20 years ago, the name actually had been formally changed to the Kansas Public Disclosure Commission, and it just had not been followed up on. And so the gist of the bill, I think, is very simple. The bill, again, as the chairman mentioned, was actually a compromise from the various parts of the political orbit here in Topeka, and I think it really speaks for itself. Again, it's clarifying wording that had been unclear. All of us have a vested interest in having the ground rules for political contributions and the different campaign parts of a political campaign to be clear. And that's what House Bill 2206 does. That's what its intention was, and that's what it does in fact. And so with that, I will, get my wording here. With that, Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports favorably on House Bill 2206 as amended.
You've heard the motion by Representative Wagner to report HB 2206 favorably. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Okay, so I apologize for not hearing division. A division has been called for. The clerk will open the roll and you may vote. Every member had an opportunity to vote. Thank you. Okay, the clerk will close the roll and take the tally. 73 having voted in favor and 44 against, the motion passes. Okay, next item of business is HB 2106. For the purpose of carrying HB 2106, the chair recognizes Representative Proctor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise before the body to present House Bill 2106. What this bill does, very simply, is get foreign money out of our constitutional amendment votes here in Kansas. There is a federal law that prevents foreign nationals from contributing to candidate campaigns, all the way from the school board up to the President of the United States. But nowhere in our statute is it illegal for a foreign national to contribute to a campaign for or against a ballot initiative. And this is not a hypothetical. In 2022, during the campaign for and against the Value Them Both Amendment, the Vote No group, the groups that were campaigning for a no vote on the Value Them Both Amendment received $1.6 million from foreign nationals in support of that $20 million campaign. So I'm not going to do public math up here, but that's a big percentage of the money that went towards that Vote No effort. I'm of the mind that foreign nationals should not have a say in our elections, whether it's for who is going to be a state representative or a congressman, or what our state constitution is going to say, which is why we've heard and passed this bill out of the Elections Committee. What this bill does is it requires that anyone who is spending money in favor of or against a ballot question on a constitutional amendment must ensure and disclose that they have no foreign donations in the previous 4 years over an amount of $100,000. And so, and then they have to also, as is already in statute, disclose the people that have contributed to that effort. So the reason that this is needed is because most of those campaigns are not done by PACs or candidates. They're done by nonprofits, 501c4s. And so we have to have these guardrails in place if we're going to ensure that we have foreign money removed from our elections. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Haskins.
Back. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. The carrier of the bill did a fine job explaining what the purpose of the bill. I stand up here and oppose opposition of this. Now, first off, no one wants a foreign national. Nobody wants foreign nationals to have any influence into our elections or finance. That's already in the federal, it's federal law. And now this does have a purpose in which it brings it forward to fill a gap of the constitutional any type of provision within changing the Constitution. That we can be in agreement with. The issue that I have with it is the term indirect, because that isn't well defined, in which we actually know how we will be held accountable for it. The second of that is, again, time and time again, we get up here and we justify a bill based upon one side of the argument. The example that the carrier of the bill gave talked about how the supportive vote no is, that was their example. I would like to know what other examples are there on the other side. If we're going to pass bills, it has to be bills that are passed for the entire state of Kansas, not just based on an ideology. So I would encourage you to vote no. on this bill based upon the lack of information, clarity, and the fact that it is one-sided. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Simmons.
Hello, thank you. I will be opposing this bill because I agree we shouldn't have foreign national money in our elections, and this bill still allows up to $100,000 every 4 years. So I think if we're going to ban money from foreign nationals, we should do it all the way. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Ruiz, Susan Ruiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I ask, have a question of the carrier of the bill? Representative, you're aware of the DACA program?
I am aware of the DACA program.
And are they or are they not allowed to contribute to campaigns?
I would imagine since they're not citizens of the United States, they're not allowed to contribute to candidate campaigns.
Correct, because they consider that as foreign money, I guess.
Yes.
However, the thing that's always gotten to me about that little clause is the fact that they are legally allowed to work in the U.S. They're getting a salary. That salary's not coming from whatever country they were originally from. That money, salary, is coming from the U.S. So I don't understand. This is not something you can solve, but
I have an answer if you want one.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't understand why that, if you're getting money from a salary and then you contribute to, doesn't matter whose campaign or whatever issue that person is concerned with, why is that not considered U.S. money?
So there is over 2 centuries of federal case law reaffirming the principle that the government, whether state or federal, has the right to limit the rights of foreign nationals living in our country. Make tons of legal precedent making it clear that there is a distinction between a U.S. citizen and a non-citizen, whether they're a legal or an illegal resident of the United States. And so I think that this is totally in line with that case law, and I think that that being a U.S. citizen means something. It means that you are wielding political power with your vote, and I think that there should be some rights that are reserved only to U.S. citizens when it comes to deciding our elections.
Okay, I agree with mostly everything you said, but again, this isn't something that us as Kansas can make changes to, but I think that's a federal change that needs to happen. If you're receiving salary and you're working for a U.S. employer, that money is U.S. money. It's not coming from it, just because you're not a U.S. citizen doesn't mean you don't get to choose how you spend that money. And they're already buying groceries, buying homes, paying for rent. I mean, they're contributing to the economy. So, but it's just a philosophical issue. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in opposition to HB 2106 and a question for the carrier of this ill-founded legislation, if I might. Mr. Chair, I haven't studied this as carefully as mayhaps I should, but how, if at all, does this impact corporations? Not only foreign corporations, domestic corporations, because I hear it's talking about citizens and citizenship. Could you just help me better understand those provisions, please? Thank you.
So in the bill, it describes the people that this law applies to is an individual who's not a citizen or lawful permanent resident, a government or subdivision of a foreign country, a foreign political party, or any entity such as a partnership, association, or corporation or organization, or other combination of persons that is organized under the laws of or has its principal place of business in a foreign country. So that would include corporations, foreign corporations.
And so with your leave of quick follow-up, how, if at all, would this impact corporations admitted to do business in Kansas?
Again, it would be determined by whether they are subject to the laws of the United States and whether their principal place of business is in the United States or outside the United States.
Thank you for your responses. We need, obviously, to get a whole lot of things out of our elections. And the most important things is, one of the most important things is money, because far too many things are decided by who has the most money in their pocket. But I honestly don't think that this legislation is going to remedy that problem. And rather than give my constituents a false promise that I've done something, I'll be voting no on HB 2106. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will the presenter of the bill stand for a question? Is there a particular reason we're allowing foreign nationals to donate an amount, any amount less than $100,000? What's the logic there?
In Ohio, they've passed a similar statute, and these provisions have survived court challenge. And so I figured whether it was more important to get something on the books that would survive court challenge than to break new ground in the courts and try to defend something more stringent. If you would like to bring an amendment to go to zero, I would support that amendment.
Well, I have not prepared an amendment today, but I really still fail to understand why we would allow foreign nationals to vote or to donate up to $100,000. So I appreciate you answering my question. I just find his answer to be pretty inadequate. And we are not Ohio. We are Kansas. And if we truly want to keep foreigners out of interference in our elections, we could do better than this. I haven't decided yet how I'll vote, but again, this is an example of sloppy legislation rushed through. It, in my view, is red meat for the base, and it's fodder for future postcards. You know, if we're not going to be supporting an ethics commission, if we're going to send the message that we're not held to an ethical standard by changing the name of that bill, I think this ties in directly to the narrative that the rules don't apply to us. We can send misleading postcards. We can out and out lie, which happened in my campaign against me with no repercussions. I think it's really important when we write bills that we do so deliberately, collaboratively, carefully, and that our intent is clear. So with respect to the carrier of the bill, I don't understand the intent of leaving $100,000 allowable in foreign funds if we are trying to keep foreigners truly out of our elections. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Haskins for a second time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would the carrier of the bill, my colleague, stand for a question, please? Thank you very much. So during the last questions, you said you would support an amendment to take it down to zero. Do you want to bring that amendment?
Again, I explained to the previous representative why the number was chosen. And so I don't have an amendment prepared because I think that it's more important to get something on the books, get it in force. We can see how it goes after a couple of years, and if we're seeing abuses of that 4-year $100,000, then we can come back and we can tighten down the law more. For all the folks here on your side of the aisle that are decrying this limit, I would contend that the flip side of this is if it goes to zero, all of the nonprofits are going to have to throw open their books if they spend so much as a dime on issue advocacy that touches on constitutional amendments. And there's a reverse free speech issue if we make every nonprofit throw open their books and show who's donating. There's a reason people choose to donate to a C4 instead of a PAC.
Thank you for that. Colleagues, he's right, all right? Contributions are an example protection of free speech. And it will have litigious legal consequences if we get this wrong. And because there is an open to make an amendment, I would like to make a motion that we pull the bill and send it back to committee, refer it back to committee and elections so my colleagues in election and I can work this out.
This is a debatable motion. Is there anyone that wants to speak to the motion? Representative Proctor.
I've heard this bill characterized as rushed. This bill went through the exact same committee process that every other bill that's been on the floor since I've been a legislator went through. It has been debated, it has been deliberated. I'm going to ask the body to oppose this motion.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak to the motion? Okay, seeing none. Haskin, you may close on your motion. Representative Haskins.
I think it's significant that we don't have any foreign nationals investing in any type of Kansas election, so I close my motion so we could send it back to committee and work it out.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to send it back to committee, say aye. All opposed? No. Ayes appear to have it. Division.
How are we gonna?
Division's been called. The clerk will open the roll and we will vote. Okay, has everyone had an opportunity to vote? Okay, the clerk will close the rolls. The tally is 36 ayes and 83 noes. The noes have it. The motion fails. What'd you get when you go off script? Okay, so we are back on the bill. Haskins has the floor. Representative Haskins, I apologize.
For me, keep it off. You guys. Madam Chair, I want to thank you for getting the vote right the first time, but unfortunately, the body has not agreed with that. And so, folks, I'm trying to help make it better. And that's when I went on to the election as ranking, I told everybody I want to make the committee I want to support them as best I can. So the chair was open to that. I do encourage you still to vote no because that's too much money that we're allowing foreign nationals to invest. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the bill? No further discussion. Representative Proctor, you may close. I'm sorry. I apologize. I looked. Representative McDonald, you are recognized for a second time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would the bringer of the bill answer one more question for me? Thank you for your willingness. I noticed that we didn't change, or we changed the anonymous contribution from $10 to $50. I was just asking, wondering why we would do that. What's special about $50?
Can you tell me what line we change it on?
I cannot, but it changed
Okay.
KSA 20.
Are you sure? That's 2206, Madam Representative.
My apologies. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Proctor, you may now close.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for a vigorous debate on this. I heard several people who came up here and say that they're going to oppose this bill, say that they don't want foreign money in our elections. Well, I would challenge you, how do you expect to keep it out if you don't make it illegal? I heard somebody say, I want to know what the other side is getting in foreign contributions for constitutional amendment campaigns. Me too. Me too. I want to know every entity that is contributing to a campaign for or against a constitutional amendment. I want to be able to tell Kansans confidently, precisely, that the organizations participating in our political process, the individuals participating in our political process, are not using money from foreign nationals to further their campaigns. This is the bill to do it. If you want to stop it, I urge you to vote yes. With that, Madam Chair, I move that when the body rises and reports, it reports House Bill 2106 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Proctor to report HB 2106 favorably. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion passes. Next item of business is HB 2068. For the purpose of carrying HB 2068, the chair recognizes Representative Steens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise before the body to present HB 2068, which has come to us from our Health and Human Services Committee with no amendments.
Would you like to make a motion?
Oh.
Oh, no motion. You may continue. Sorry, no amendments.
That's okay. All right, so HB 2068 is also known as Make Kansas Pretty Again. This bill is intended to relieve unnecessary administrative burdens that hinder the interstate practice of cosmetology, resulting in reduced public access to cosmetology. This bill also would enact the Cosmetologist Licensure Compact in order to facilitate the interstate practice of cosmetology, improve public access to cosmetology services, and reduce administrative burden. The compact would also create the Cosmetology License Compact Commission. The compact would preserve the regularity authority of states through the current system of state licensure, providing portability for qualifying professionals through a multi-state licensing system. It also does require the applicant to hold an active, unencumbered single state license to practice cosmetology, and it would not limit, restrict, or in any way reduce the ability of a member state to enact and enforce laws, rules, or regulations to practice cosmetology that are not consistent or that are inconsistent with the compact. Also, the compact would allow active military duty personnel or their spouses to more easily transfer from one assignment to another. It would also utilize a coordinated database and reporting system so that the reporting can better be communicated across member states, and the compact's provisions would be severable, would become effective on the date that the compact is enacted into law in the 7th member state. There's no opponents. We had a lot of proponents, especially with military families, and there was no neutral testimony. And thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll stand for questions on HB 2068.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Susan Ruiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the carrier of the bill did a really good job of explaining what the cosmetology compact is. I urge everyone to support this. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Miller.
Thank you, whoa, that's really loud. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's louder than usual today. So I'm on board with this. This is something that I've been working on for a few years now. Interstate compact licensure really does help, most of all, military spouses, people who have to move around a whole lot against their, whether they like it or not, they kind of have to move. And if they're very established in one state, but another state has different laws or a bunch of hoops they have to jump through, it can cause months of just red tape and hassle for people to get back into work and working in the new state that they have to relocate to. So also the database that they were talking about is already implemented and it's already been paid for. It's something that's really easy. It's not going to cost us money to join that database. So I'm fully support this and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Steens. You may close.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it report HB 2068 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Steens to report HB 2068 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is HB 2069. For the purpose of carrying HB 2069, the chair recognizes Representative Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was an amendment to this bill, and I move that we accept the committee report.
You've heard the motion to adopt the committee report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill number 2069 is another compact bill. It would be enacting the school psychologist licensure compact to provide interstate practice privileges for school psychologists. This bill was brought to us and supported by military people, but this would apply to any school psychologist from a state that's in the compact. This would facilitate the interstate practice of school psychology in school settings. That's school psychologist is an area that we have openings and need more people. They're highly trained people that have graduated from a qualifying program in school psychologist education. They have completed 1,200 hours of supervised internship and at least 600 hours in a school setting. They have also passed the national exam, and this would just help in the mobility of those people and quickly getting licensure. The compact would require 7 states. 2 have already passed legislation. There are 8, including Kansas, that are considering it now, so it looks like this would go through soon. There is a severability clause if the compact is not working out well for us. And I think this is a good bill, and I would be glad to stand for questions.
Is there any member desiring to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Susan Ruiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wholeheartedly also support this bill, HB 2069. The carrier of the bill did a really good job of explaining. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, Representative Gardner, you may close.
Madam Chair, I move that when the body rises and reports, they report out House Bill 2069 favorable for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Gardner to report HB 2069 favorably for passage. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is HB 2070. For the purpose of carrying HB 2070, the chair recognizes Representative Rivas.
Madam Chair, there were committee amendments. I move the adoption of this committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. The committee report is adopted.
Speak to the bill. Okay. So this is HB 2070. This has about the dietitian compact. So it's another compact bill. It's very similar to all the other compact bills we passed. This one had 11 proponents, no opponents, and no neutral testimony. It's been enacted in 4 states. It's been considered in 15 states this year. And with that, I'll listen for any questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Bryce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the representative did a very fine job describing the bill. I'm thankful that he bit off this piece of legislation, sank his teeth into it, chewed on it a while, chomped down on the nitty-gritty. Would the representative agree to stand for questions? Doctor? Yes, Doctor? I'd like to compliment you as a new legislator. Can you tell the body what you do for a living?
Well, I am a licensed dentist in the state of Kansas.
That's wonderful. It's been like pulling teeth to get dentists in here.
I will try to extract another one and get him in here. We can implant them into the seat.
Oh, you know all the good ones. You know that stuff that you use as a dentist and you shoot it in people's mouths, it numbs them up and then they can't talk very well for a while? Can we get some of that to use here in the legislature?
Yeah, I think that could be used on a bipartisan basis, actually.
Oh. You know, I was noticing as you were speaking, your teeth look great. Can you smile for the body? Okay. Your teeth are so very white. Your teeth are so very straight. Do your teeth have a political affiliation?
They're neutral.
Okay. As a dentist, you may have noticed that the shape of our state has a little notch in the northeast corner. Do you feel like that could be a cavity?
No, I think I call that affectionately the east coast of Kansas. That's where I live. I'm in one of those little curves right there.
Oh, you are? Good.
My daughter thought the card was torn when I gave it to her.
Yeah. Just probably one or two other things, Representative. I think as a dentist, you probably recommend that all the legislators here brush their teeth, correct?
I would hope so.
Can you tell me in what state was the toothbrush invented?
Arkansas.
Why was it invented in Arkansas?
They only have one tooth.
It would be the teeth brush if it was invented in
Right.
Kansas, right? Okay, I just have one other question for you, Representative, and it has to do with some things I've heard. Can you explain any relationship you have with the Tooth Fairy business or otherwise?
Fifth Amendment right, I think I should invoke my Fifth Amendment rights on that.
Okay. I want to congratulate you for being in the Kansas House of Representatives representative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Susan Ruiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The carrier of the bill did a really good job of explaining the dietitian compact. It's amazing how much work the dietitians do for us and all the levels of practice that they are in. I was amazed when I learned more and more about what they do. And of course, I support HB 2070. I urge everyone to vote yes on this. And just being able to do these compacts and knowing that we are working with the Department of Defense in helping our military families, I think that's really, it's great, it's special, and I feel honored to be able to help with this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Rivas to close.
Madam Chair, I move that when the committee rises and reports, they report House Bill 2070 favorably for passage as amended. It was amended.
Not as amended. There were no amendments on the floor. Okay, you have heard the motion by Representative Rivas to report HB 2070 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. This concludes our general order. The chair recognizes the majority leader.
Madam Chair, I move we rise and report.
You've heard the motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes.
The clerk will read the committee report.
Mr. Speaker, your committee of the whole recommends that HB 2068 be passed, HB 2018, 2206, 2106, 2069, 2070 be passed as amended.
The speaker recognizes Representative Howerton to adopt the committee of the whole report.
I move to adopt the committee of the whole report.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. The speaker recognizes Majority Leader Croft for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Rule 2311, I move that an emergency be declared, the rules suspended, in House Bill 2018, House Bill 2206, House Bill 2106, House Bill 2068, House Bill 2069, and House Bill 2070 be advanced to that order of business, final action and bills and concurrent resolutions.
You all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion carries. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 2018 by Committee on Elections, an act concerning elections relating to the qualifications of poll workers, requiring poll workers to be citizens of the United States and live within the state of Kansas, prohibiting the disqualification of active military members, spouses, or other dependents as poll workers on the basis of residency or registered voter status.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2018. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Carmichael votes no. Any further changes? With 107 having voted in favor and 12 against the passage of House Bill 2018, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2206 by Committee on Elections, an act concerning campaign finance relating to the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission, renaming the commission as the Kansas Public Disclosure Commission, defining certain terms, requiring the filing of statements of independent expenditures, prohibiting agreements requiring contributions in the name of another person.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2206. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 74 having voted in favor and 45 against the passage of House Bill 2206, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2106 by Committee on Elections, an act concerning campaign finance relating to support for or opposition to proposed amendments to the Kansas Constitution, banning contributions from foreign nationals.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2106. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 94 having voted in favor and 25 against the passage of House Bill 2106, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2068 by Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development, an act concerning the practice of cosmetology, enacting the cosmetologist licensure compact to provide interstate practice privileges for cosmetologists.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2068. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Members will be in their seats. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? For an explanation, the speaker recognizes Representative Wilborn. No explanation. Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Wilborn votes aye. Representative Carmichael votes aye. Representative Ellis votes aye. Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none. With 119 having voted in favor and 0 against the passage of House Bill 2068, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. Clerk will record the vote. Final action, clerk will read.
HB 2069 by Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development, an act concerning health and healthcare relating to school psychologists, enacting the School Psychologist Compact to provide interstate practice privileges.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2069. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 119 having voted in favor and 0 against the passage of House Bill 2069, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, the clerk will read.
HB 2070 by Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development, an act concerning health and healthcare relating to dietitians, enacting the Dietitian Compact to provide interstate practice privileges.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2070. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 119 having voted in favor and 0 against the passage of House Bill 2070, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
The Committee on Federal and State Affairs recommends HCR 5006 be adopted. The Committee on Elections recommends HB 2022 be passed. And because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar. The Committee on Education recommends HB 2033 be passed. The Committee on Elections recommends HB 2056 be passed. The Committee on Financial Institutions and Pensions recommends HB 2086 be passed. The Committee on Welfare Reform recommends HB 2101 be passed. The Committee on Education recommends substitute for HB 2102 be amended. Am I reading all? And the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Federal and State Affairs recommends HB 2104 be passed. The Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications recommends HB 2107 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Water recommends HB 2112 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Water recommends HB 2113 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Judiciary recommends HB 2173 be passed. The Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends HB 2177 be passed. The Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends HB 2179 be passed. The Committee on Health and Human Services recommends HB 2219 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends HB 2221 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends HB 2228 be passed. The Committee on Health and Human Services recommends HB 2249 be passed. The Committee on Transportation recommends HB 2263 be passed. The Committee on Veterans and Military recommends HB 2273 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Transportation recommends HB 2289 be passed. The Committee on Health and Human Services recommends HB 2307 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends HB 2312 be passed. The Committee on Elections recommends SB 4 be amended and the bill be passed as amended.
House Bill 2382 is withdrawn from the Committee on Appropriations and referred to the Committee on K-12 Education Budget. Are there announcements? Representative Brantley will replace Representative Corbett on the House Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development on Friday, February 14th. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on February 14th. Representative Hellwig will replace Representative Droege on the House Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources on Friday, February 14th. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on February 14th. Representative Essex will replace Representative Burkamp on the House Committee on Insurance on Friday, February 14th. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on February 14th. Representative Stogsdill replaces Representative Meyer on the House Committee on Health and Human Services on Friday, February 14th. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on Friday, February 14th. The Speaker recognizes Representative Adam Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Body, this is an annual event happening this weekend. I always try to get up and remind everybody. This Sunday night at 7 o'clock, we will be invaded in the Capitol by a whole bunch of 4-H students from across the state. It's their annual leadership event called Citizenship in Action. If you're in town at 7 o'clock on Sunday, I'd invite you to come in. They will be in the House chambers and in the Senate doing some mock legislation. It's always an interesting event, but I also like to remind everybody, if you want to kind of clean off your desks and make your desks ready, you're going to have a lot of students from across the state in the chamber this weekend. So just a friendly reminder and an invitation to swing by Sunday night. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Higher Education Budget Committee will meet at 1:30 today to work HB 2195 and HB 2248. So we'll see you at 1:30. Thank you.
Representative Stogsdill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democrats, we will be having agenda Monday morning at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, Monday morning, 152 South. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Veterans Caucus, a reminder, Veterans Caucus will be held Monday, 12 o'clock in room 218 North. Veterans Caucus, 218 North on Monday. Thank you.
Representative Getz.
Quick announcement on K-12 budget. We are not meeting today, neither of the bills that we were going to work. We are not going to work them. And so on Monday, we have one more, but no meeting this afternoon. Have a great weekend.
Representative Rajas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to have some of the best and brightest of Kansas 4-Hers in this building Sunday night. So if you have a bunch of loose things, you might want to put them in your desk.
Representative, that announcement has already been made.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on my way. Who did that? I want to know. All right.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion to adjourn.
If you'll indulge me real quick, I did have my announcement button on. So last night, many of you guys have heard my story and how I was affected by Normandy this last year. Well, last night, I had another reminder of some things. So last night, there was the College Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Overland Park. And there was 320 folks that sat in that event from all over this country, from California to Boston to Florida to Oregon. It was an amazing event, and seeing how many people from around the country came to Kansas to participate in the induction ceremony. Now, Roger Clemens was the headliner, and man, he's kind of a big person, but at the end of the day, he's not the one that actually that everybody was talking about. It was actually Coach Ellis from Grambling State. So from my seat, I could actually see him walk up the ramp with his cane. And as soon as he got to the top of the ramp, the cane stayed on the rail. He stood super tall when everybody could see him. He was standing tall, sat down, and if you closed your eyes, you would have thought he was 20 years old. His voice was just so booming and so powerful. His message was pretty clear about the value of the team. And I tell you, it was pretty impressive. In fact, afterwards, Roger Clemens got up and he said, you know, just like everybody else in this room, I'm sure you all feel this way. Now, some of us don't have the talent to do this, but we would ramp up or suit up and follow that coach anywhere. And you could see why he was so successful and why he was in there. I will tell you this too. Afterwards, I was sitting around and they had cleaned up the room. Many of the tables were being folded. There was not another inductee there but that coach. That coach was still there talking to everybody that lined up to want to talk to him, imparting his wisdom. You know, sometimes when you just see a leader that has the it factor, it's impressive. And for me last night, you guys know I worked in the Leadership Center, and for me, that was super impressive to just be around Coach Ellis. So his story, like all the other ones, are in the College Baseball Hall of Fame, which actually is in Overland Park. And it's going to be opening with all this stuff. But here's the thing. This thing's been under development for many years. And I want to thank Warren Wilkinson from Visit OP, Kevin Timmons from Nick and Jake's, the Department of Commerce, and our very own representative from Stillwell, who had the vision to do this when nobody else was thinking about it, and established. We beat out Nashville, we beat out Omaha, and many other large cities for this Hall of Fame. And it is going to be here for a long time and be a great representative. So I would just encourage you guys, I'll leave this on the desk. If you want to take a picture of the QR code and go from that thing, it was super impressive. And I wanted to share that with you. Some of the great things about people coming to Kansas. Now that's the end of my announcements. Other than now, because y'all are meeting at 8, we'll meet at 8. No, I'm just messing with you. Republicans, we're going to meet at 8 o'clock Monday morning in the old Supreme Court to calendar. Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn until Monday, February 17th at 11 a.m.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we are adjourned.